Thank you so much. Let's start with the bass player.
Oh, me?
Yeah, with you.
It's unusual, actually.
Yeah, it's no, but in this case, it's rightful because Moto Fukushima.
Hi.
Hello, welcome. Because yeah, I was wondering, have you ever been kicked out of a band because you play too many notes?
Whoa. Yeah, have you ever thought about that? Well, you know what? As it proven, he plays much more notes than me, so actually it's balanced out.
I'm the first cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you have no, but the nice thing about you is that also in other bands that you play with, you have a more prominent role than most bass players. You play more harmonies
Yes.
and you use different sounds. You have more strings,
Yes, exactly.
6 instead of 4. So has it been? I can imagine that sometimes you work as a bass player in a band and you're supposed to be
Yes, bass.
yeah bass and here you have
Guitar or keyboard. Yeah. Yes.
is there do you have to restrain yourself when you are playing in other bands?
Well, interesting, but no.
Why are you looking at Max?
Always, I need some kind of approval, get a thumbs up or thumbs down. But this group is very special to me, and as you said, I'm bass player, supposed to be, but it's not. We have much more space, so I always thinking how we can make it sound like full. I mean, Dalsma itself is very full, but there are still, so much space as well. So I want to do something different, from other regular bass playing.
No, no, it works. It works. I think we all agree it works. Yeah. But you knew that already. Are you still sometimes listening to Mr. Big?
Oh yeah. How did you know that?
I picked it up somewhere that when you were when you were a young kid, you were into the music. Mr. Big is a hard rock band. They had this big hit, but with a ballad, but it was actually very heavy band. What was the name of the hit?
With You.
To Be With You. Yeah. But it was a heavy band, and you were into this music, right?
Yes, like when I was a kid, like teenager, like always everybody goes into the rock music. Well, but before that, I was really into classical music. I was kind of forced because my mom was a piano teacher, so I had a classical training. But it's not a good idea to have a lesson with your mom. I mean, she's amazing, but so I switched to rock guitar and really into rock music. I switched to bass. Yeah, still I have that skill. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that because the way the bass is played in this band is also really heavy and fast, and so I can imagine it has helped you become who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Ignacio, who is your childhood hero musically?
Wow. Well, I started, of course, as well listening to rock music, and when I was 10, I started listening to Iron Maiden. I don't know if you guys know about the band. Yes. I went to see them when I was 13, and that really changed my... I really wanted to be able to travel around the world playing music. And of course, then afterwards, I was exposed to other types of music, other styles, and so, I mean, there are so many heroes, drum heroes, of course, the big names, Vinny Colaiuta from the 90s, all those guys, Dennis Chambers, Steve Gadd. Yeah, those are the guys that really influenced me when I started playing drums.
You are originally from Argentina. Have you ever heard the dulcimer when you were in your young days?
I've never seen that instrument before, and after the first rehearsal we had, I asked him what was that instrument called. I didn't even know. I mean, I liked the music and we played and everything, but I didn't even know about that instrument before we played.
Okay, well, let's talk about the instrument, Max. We have to talk about it. Is it true that you started out with Irish music playing?
Yeah, I started playing Irish and American folk music for about 10, maybe 11 years before I started thinking about different stuff.
But are you from sorry, let's stand here. Yeah, thanks. Are you from Irish descent?
No, not at all. My mom actually, she was born in Prague. She's Czech. My dad is from the Bronx, which is, some mixture of things. And so that kind of coupled. So I was raised on actually really avant-garde jazz, like really weird, like AACM stuff. And I'm from Chicago, and so there's a lot of the avant-garde jazz world is based out of there, or at least was in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. And there were not that many people that actually showed up to these concerts, and so my parents became very good friends with so many of these people, and so all of these people were coming just over to my house on a regular basis. and which was kind of, I mean, at the time I was like, what is that weird, crazy stuff, you know? And I never really liked it at all. It was, I mean, it's super noise music basically. But now I'm like really back into it. You know, into it. So that's kind of how I was raised. But then also, you know, Chicago also has a very big folk music tradition and you know, kind of history. There's a tons of different schools that are based out of there, and I mean, Pete Seeger, I was raised on him, and he's kind of one of my early heroes, and you know, Dylan and all of the folk guys, pre-electric Dylan, you know, so that stuff.
So when did you discover the instrument then?
Well, they took me to a folk festival when I was 6, and I saw that and was like, ooh. And then, you know, hindsight, it's funny because I have friends, you know, who have children who are 6 and 7 years old, and like, why would anybody ever do that? I must have just been a weird kid. That's kind of my you know, takeaway from all of this. So I don't know why I latched onto it, and then, you know, time was funny, and here we are.
Yeah. And what I understand is that your time or your technique is unorthodox from the way it's traditionally played. In what way is your technique unorthodox?
Probably the easiest way to talk about that would be the studies in Senegal. I was living there on and off for about 5-6 years, studying with the kora players. And kora, for those that don't know, is a gourd with a pole that comes out, and you pluck it with these 4 fingers. And they divide the music into 4 different parts with bass lines, harmony, melody, and improvisation, kind of all going on independently at once. And so, kind of like, well, it's kind of like piano. You know, piano, your left hand is doing bass line and harmony, while your right hand is doing melody and improvisation. It's just opposite that and twice as much. So, tricky. And so I'm trying to put a lot of that into this. I still only have 2 hands, so I do the bass lines and harmony, right hand, left hand, melody, and improvisation. Mostly this instrument is used as a single line instrument. Usually I have 1 line, it's a melodic line, that's it. But the instrument has so much resonance that you can really make it sound like an orchestra. You can make it sound like a trio sounding huge, you know, and that's the goal of what we're trying to do here, is just make this sound like super full without kind of noticing it, you know. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to kind of do that, and that's probably the easiest way to say why that's different than most other dulcimer players, because everything else usually is just the melody. But if you can do melody, harmony, and bass lines, and improvisation, and different roles and different techniques all kind of at the same time, then it's just pretty crazy.
So do you have to hold your sticks in a different way? Also, can you give an example of your technique?
Sure. Well, actually, I guess we could play this song next. This song is a good example of that. So there's a melody. Normally it would be. Right, that's like a melody. But if you put the bass lines and harmony in the right hand, you can do. And actually, what I'll do is I'll play it all fully, and then I have a felt on one side, so I'll flip it over so you can hear just the melody isolated, and then just the comping isolated as well. So here's the full thing. So that's much bigger than. So if I'll flip it over, you can hear exactly what I'm talking about. The melody is just me, my left hand here. Right hand. So you have the right hand doing, you know, D, D over F sharp, G, A. You have all of the different chords going on with the right hand down here, while your left hand is doing the melody. And so then it sounds huge. It sounds much bigger, and you can just really have a lot of fun. When I was studying in Senegal, we would literally be playing music 16 hours a day, and I actually had an elbow injury from it, so I would not recommend it. But it's, yeah, just quality over quantity for sure. But you know, it's just there's in Senegal and in this style of music, and also in India and Indian classical music, it takes a long time to go through this music, and we'll play 16 hours a day, but maybe we're playing 1 piece, maybe 3, you know, like, and so it's like you're really just going on that forever. One of the pieces we played today had this is like the vamp of it. So So this would just go on forever. And so you would just like kind of groove on that as much as possible, and you really lock in, and then you can start adding improvisation. Funny is because a lot of the stuff that when we're playing this music, we'll come up with these improvisational things and be like, oh, actually now we're going to remember that, and put that into the thing and then harmonize it, and Mota will either double it or Ignacio will double it and or do something off of it. But most of these, especially in the Senegalese based stuff, is based off of just stuff that we came up with and just improvising. And that's probably true with actually a lot of music, especially in jazz. You'll be doing something and taking a solo in it, and then all of a sudden you come up with a catchy hook, and then that becomes the B section. And so it's not really, analysis comes much later. Usually you're just playing.
Well, talking about analysis and things like that, you studied it also in India.
Yes.
And I read in an interview that you said that it really was a breakthrough for you technically, musically, but also philosophically. In what way?
Well, technique is time, right? So technique, as much time as you spend on something, you'll get better at it. So that's something I learned a lot about the single hand roll thing, which is this kind of concept. I have my left hand just do a roll, single hand, which is kind of a game changer as well. You get a whole other sound you can be doing. So that's the easy answer. The hard answer that takes a lifetime is it really just changed my thought process on how to live my life, in the sense that the entire form of music, Indian classical music, is based around a couple of different things. Harmonically, it's based around something called the raga system. Ragas are essentially scales, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. They have sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. Slightly different verbiage. But I like to kind of actually use that word verbiage because I like to think about each one of these ragas as a language, where there's its own set of form, grammar, vocabulary, and shape in the language, and it's about fluency. You're doing an hour and a half long concert in Indian classical music, and it's entirely improvised, but it's based around one set of scales, one set of rules within that stuff. And there's all these different rules that you have to learn, just like a language, and then forget, so that you can talk, and communicate. As we're improvising right now, and improvising in conversation, improvising in life, you don't remember, oh, right, my right foot has to go now, and then my left. Oh, the preposition goes here in the sentence. No, you just talk. You just walk down the road. And so the same kind of concept goes with this. And so the more I was studying it, I'm realizing it's not really about the content, because what I do actually, since it's improvised, it's going to be completely different next time. That's not the important part. The important part is getting to the place where I know all this stuff, I can forget all this stuff, and actually just be fluent in this raga and just be. And just be in that moment, be present. Which is enlightenment, that's hard. Not easy to become enlightened. And so this music is the only form that I've actually found that its sole purpose is this practice of presentness. It's not about entertainment. That only happened because people have to make a buck, but really the entire upbringing of this music was almost exclusively about introspection. And using this as a tool of meditation, using this as a tool to understand who you are, lose your ego. In the present moment, there is no ego. We're just alive now. I was great, that's why I have ego. I will be great, that's why I will have ego. But now, I'm alive, and 5 minutes from now, who knows? For real. Yeah. It's weird. Life is weird like that. And so this music is really just entirely focused on get here, get in that moment, learn the stuff, but then let everything go and just be. And so that's obviously very translatable to how to live. You can be a more kinder, a more generous, a more welcoming, a more kind of just open-minded person when you have that mentality. So that's been a game changer personally.
Very beautiful story, Max. Thank you. We're going to do One more short tune for us. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, one more time. House of Waters.